Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 16 of How to Make It Through This Quarantine Time. 5 reasons not to harm your loved ones while we're all stuck at home. Today, we are going to focus on parenting time and on uh, some of the issues that are arising in the custody uh, framework. Um, Before we get to that part, though, I did have a question yesterday about what actually are the 5 reasons. I guess it was many weeks ago that we talked about what those initial 5 are. Number one, protective services workers are essential. Number two, the police are essential. Number three, parents can get in trouble for kids being kids. Number four, there are all kinds of reasons that you don't want to be in jail right now, including that there's not the ability for social distancing. Um, and there's so many people in and out that it's constantly changing as to who the population is, what they have, what they don't have. Very limited access to medical care as well. So that's number four. And number five is because not very many of us look good in horizontal stripes. So, with that being said, let's talk about a couple introductory things. First of all, as always, you can hit the comment button and put in a question, and I will try to answer them during the session. And also at 1:30, and you'll see a link on the page, we will go switch over to a different format to Zoom, and we can interact and answer questions live there about any of the topics that we've talked about over the last 3 weeks. Um, so, as I always do, today's numbers are 1,921 deaths in the state of Michigan and 28,059 confirmed cases of COVID-19. That's up 153 deaths from yesterday and 1,058 new cases. Now remember, we always have to keep our statistics in check. There's more testing going on. We're going to find more cases. There's also, we're getting results back faster. So again, we're going to see more of an elevation in our numbers. I do believe, and I check lots of sources daily, that staying home is working. How much? I have no idea. So we've crossed that off the list. Next thing, I always try to give you some relevant information to help you in your everyday life that is not legal per se. A lot of banks have closed their application process for the PPP, for the payroll assistance loan. There is a website. Oh, well, before we go there, most banks you apply right at your branch where you have an account, and most banks are not allowing you to open a new account for the purpose of applying for the PPP. So there's a website called cabbage.com, KABBAGE.com, and I can just type that right in. This is a new feature because I'm doing this today on my laptop. I just learned how to do this instead of, maybe I can do that for you. There, I think I did. Okay. I don't know if that just came up or not. All kinds of funky things happening. But it's cabbage.com, and somebody give me like a thumbs up emoji that posted. I think it did. Okay, there you go. So if your bank, like Huntington, is no longer allowing PPP applications, this website will let you do it. Next thing, I mentioned this the other day. I didn't realize that this wasn't common knowledge. I thought I was just being helpful. But for your stimulus check, if you go into irs.gov, put in your information, and put in a bank account and a routing number, it will be direct deposited to you and you will receive it weeks before other people. So make sure on the IRS website, not on some of the copycat IRS websites. It should be irs.gov, and that should help you on that account. Let me see, irs.gov. I'm typing it in so you all have it. Hopefully, when I hit enter, it will just pop up. And I think it did. Okay, cool. I love when technology works. It's not really my greatest thing. I feel like I'm yelling for my kids every 20 seconds when I have to do something that involves technology. So now let's get into the meat of today. I wanted to focus on parenting time and custody because we haven't really talked about that in probably a week or so. As everyone has heard, if you've listened before today, and I'll repeat it for those of you that are new, because I think there are a few new people. The basically, the Michigan Supreme Court has said that all custody and parenting orders are to be enforced in their full force as they existed in their last writing or their last entry into the system with the judge's signature, and it's an order. All orders must be followed. Of course, parents can make other arrangements. They can do temporary orders during this COVID-19 crisis. Parents can modify orders, but they're not enforceable by the court unless they're actually shared by a judge. Not shared, sorry, signed by a judge. So recently, the Department of Health and Human Services, in trying to interpret and enforce the governor's orders of stay home, have decided that children in foster care, regardless of what stage of reunification they are in, will no longer have in-person visits with their biological parents. They will, and some pretty extreme situations have arisen out of that, where we have kids that were almost returned home completely and are now seeing their parents, depending on their age, either by Zoom or FaceTime or Skype a few minutes a day instead of full days and full nights that they were enjoying before all of this. So that's one situation that we're seeing. Another scenario that we're seeing is where one parent is not in a situation where the parents do not reside together, either because they're not married anymore, they were never married, they're broken up, whatever it is. But when you have a mom and dad not living in the same home, they're still a mom and dad. And one of those parents has COVID-19. What do we do in that situation? The third scenario that I want to talk about is when, in some situations, that we see one parent is, following the rules, staying home, no one's coming over, no play dates, not even outside play dates. I mean, really, not taking the whole family to the grocery. And the other parent is not so strict and is loosening the rules. So that's another scenario. And then the fourth scenario, and like I said, I'm just going to touch on these really briefly now, and we can talk more about it on the Zoom conference after if you want to. And the fourth scenario is where you have one parent is remarried and their kids are coming in and out of the house on parenting time with that other parent and your child is also going in and out of the house. So now you've added another layer. So what do? You have to talk about it. You absolutely must have discussions. In the same way, when we've talked about education and distance learning, especially in the special ed scenario, you must be communicating. You must voice your concerns, and you must not tell your child to rat on what's going on at the other home, but ask the questions. Know what measures they're exercising in that house. This is your child. It's also their child. So you're going to have to communicate. The other reason that we're seeing issues here and we have to try to work them out informally is because courts are really in an odd place. They're hearing essential matters only for the most part. And we'll talk about how that's going to open up a little bit on Monday in some places. And when they're hearing these essential matters, they're really limited to cases or situations where a child is at risk. It's not, I'm speculating that that parent was exposed to COVID-19. It is not, I'm worried, I'm paranoid. It is not, that's my child. I take care of my child better than anyone else in the world. Yeah, most people believe that they're the best parent that their child can have, but that does not make it essential for a lawyer or for a party to march into court. It has to be real. It has to be right now. And there has to be some articulable reason where we can, tell the court, you got to let us in, essentially. So those are kind of the hot situations that we're getting the most calls about and that we're dealing with. Some of you may have read about this morning a situation where a Detroit father was charged with kidnapping his 4-month-old daughter. In that situation, the mom and dad were not married. They had an argument while they were both in the car with the child. And mom ended up getting out of the car, and dad took off with the daughter. This ended up in a high-speed chase, and then the child was returned to mom in a not that long of amount of time, unharmed. Well, we've talked about before how you can end up with a criminal situation or an expensive civil situation for not following the stay-at-home order. But in this case, this father was charged by the Wayne County Prosecutor's Office with second-degree kidnapping, child abuse, and third-degree fleeing and eluding. Those are 3 felonies for being a smartass at your baby mama and taking off. There's more information about that case if you wanted to look it up on any of the major news stations, wxyz.com or click on detroit.com or whatever your favorite news outlet is. Going back to parenting time orders for a minute, if they are being violated, then we can go to court and we can ask a judge to issue sanctions. That could be anything from make-up parenting time to attorney fees to changing the parenting time, changing the custody if it arises to that level. If you have a child that has special health concerns or asthma or something chronic that makes them more at risk, make sure if you have to go to court that you have documentation. The word alone is not going to get you into court. Again, we have to be specific. We have to, and it has to be a critical need. There's something called an ex parte relief, and some of you may have heard that phrase, but most people haven't. It comes from Latin, And it basically is a situation where we go into court with just one party, and we ask the judge for relief. So the other party is not getting notice that we're asking for something. Um, as you all know from the Constitution, we have a right to due process. Part of due process is notice before there's process. So, so in this situation, if if someone is asking for ex parte relief, which is really significant relief, I mean, an order is going to be entered without the other side knowing about it. That's going to either expand or restrict or limit their rights to whatever's at issue. So basically, in order to ask for ex parte relief and to be successful in getting it, is there has to be a strong factual showing of imminent danger or severe detriment to the child, not to the parent, to the child. We have to show that there is some high risk that if the court doesn't take this path contrary to the Constitution right now, there will be harm. And so it's difficult, and it's a really high standard to get to. So, um, those are all kind of the parenting time issues that we're seeing and we're dealing with now that are unique. And, we're open, we're happy to answer your questions. And of course, on the Zoom, which the link is already in the comments here, I will be happy to address individual questions unless you post them now. Then I will do that as well. The next thing I wanted to talk about is obviously there was a huge protest yesterday. Started with great intentions that everyone would be in their car, they would gridlock the streets, and that the governor would get the message that people are not happy. Well, people don't have to be happy. The governor doesn't make decisions based on her constituents or her citizens' happiness. She makes them in looking with the information she has available to her and deciding what needs to happen. As we've mentioned before, there has to be a compelling state interest in order to outweigh an individual's rights, and freedom of assembly and freedom to protest is certainly one of those, two of those rights that are not looked upon lightly when any sort of order is made. So yesterday is in the car gridlock part was definitely there was tons of cars and people were distancing and it was safe, and they were getting their message across. Where this all kind of went awry were the 100 to 150 people that were actually on the courthouse steps who were not social distancing, who were not wearing masks, who were essentially, giving the proverbial middle finger to what the situation is in the state of Michigan. And whether you agree with it or not, I think that for all of us, for your own health, like that you would just ignore all of it, even if you're objecting to it, is really hard for me to believe. You could have easily been on the steps. I even know someone who was there, and he had this pole to keep people 8 feet away from him when he was not in his car. And so that's awesome. Great. Excuse me, but then there were all those other people who were literally like just packed together, like, sardines in a can. I don't know why I thought of sardines because I don't even like sardines, but anyway. Okay. So, as I said, they had an absolute right to do it. We probably will be in our homes longer because they did it. Because remember, every single person who is carrying the virus, even with no symptoms, who comes in contact with another person, can possibly spread it to 40 people. So that will be all play out. I don't know what's going to happen, but we'll stay tuned. Um, the next thing that I wanted to tell you about is Wayne County Juvenile Court will be opening by Zoom in some limited capacity starting Monday. Anyone who has a case with Judge Karen Braxton that was scheduled originally for April 20th, it will be going forward on Monday by Zoom. No one will be in her courtroom. Everyone will be remote, and there's still an order in place through April 17th that no people are allowed in the building at 1025 East Forest. Um, any hearing that was canceled before April 20th from the date that the court closed, which I think was March 13th, um, those cases have not been rescheduled yet. So they're not just like hopping in line. They're basically opening and they're going to do that day's work. So that's the only one I've heard of is Wayne County Juvenile Court. Yesterday, I was unsure about the numbers, if there had been any cases in juvenile detention in Wayne County, and now I know that there are. And I don't have a number for you. It is less than five. Um, and I believe there has also been some cases in the Oakland County Children's Village facility as well, but I have not been able to confirm that. So with that, I'm gonna like scroll through. I don't see any questions. I see some hellos. Thank you. I love hellos. And with that, I think that we should switch over to the Zoom. It's meeting number 9222-070-7546. And you can just click on it in the feed, or you can enter that when you go to zoom.us. And I will see you there shortly. Have a great, great day if you're not going to tune into the Zoom. I'll see you tomorrow, and stay home, stay healthy, and let's smile today, even though it's snowing. Have a great day. Bye.